That's right. It's time for Redskins Talk, live from the lab. CP3 coming to you on Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, live from the lab. Week 3, Victory Monday. Redskins victorious over the Green Bay Packers, 31-17. Tell the two halves. We're going to break down the game, and we're going to talk Jay Gruden after we break down the game. After this, I don't even know how to describe this game. It was exhilarating in the first half and very frustrating in the second half until a certain point in the fourth quarter. So we've talked over and over again, DujunneaB. I'm not even going to get on my soapbox. We're going to make this a different type of Redskins talk since we have a bye week next week, so we don't have a game preview. We're really going to break this game down because we saw what happened last week versus the Colts, and we went in deep detail in how Jay's game plan was flawed, no in-game adjustments, wide receivers didn't win, didn't go downfield. We talked about everything he did wrong. This first half, it was like he was listening to the show because he did everything that we said he needed to do to win this game until the second half. So we're going to break down the first half, grade, and then we're going to grade the second half, just to go into detail on this game, just to give some in-depth coverage, because I've had some interesting conversations today with Redskins fans about this very subject. So, DujunneaB, what was your take on this first half versus Green Bay in the rainy confines of FedEx Field?
I thought they executed well. They took advantage of the opportunities that the defense presented. I said it last week that Green Bay would come in here and try to do what the Colts did. And they took them out of that immediately by forcing the ball to your playmakers, which I felt like they didn't do against the Colts. Getting Jordan Reed involved, getting Vernon Davis involved, especially Jordan Reed early, allowed them to open up the field and be able to run the football the way they needed to, because now you're not keyed in on Adrian Peterson. You have to respect Jordan Reed out there, and whether you have Vernon Davis, you have Jeremy Sprinkle, whatever you do, you have to respect those tight ends because they were beat several times for big ones with him, especially in that first drive. That set up the deep ball. Those people talking about whether or not the receivers can win, that they've won every week. Whether it's execution and whether it's not adjusting to what the Colts were doing last week is the reason why they haven't looked as well. But as you can see, they have the ability to get deep behind, and Alex was able to take advantage of it. This is a Packers defense that's at the bottom of the league and covering the pass. They're allowing like 11.2 yards per play. They're 6 yards, darn near 6 yards on the ground at times. So they're going to average the collective unit. They're giving up 4.7. So they did what they needed to do in the first half to take advantage of those things. Basically, they hit them in the mouth first. And the whole first half, it was very difficult for them to catch up. And that just speaks to the talent of the Redskins and take nothing away from Green Bay. But they're not as talented of a defense. And they're not as talented as Arizona. And I know what people feel about the Cardinals and because of their, the way they've lost, but their defense has been out there a lot. And the Packers have some holes, especially in the middle of the field. Not that those guys aren't talented, they just can't cover in space. And they took advantage of a lot of things. Not a very big front seven, so it worked out to perfection. I thought Alex Smith was a big part of them being able to have success in orchestrating the offense, making smart decisions. with the football, and they lit them up pretty good. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, in the first 17 plays, 133 yards just in the first quarter. That's pretty impressive.
No doubt. Appreciate folks tuning in. James, what's going on? Kathy, Lisa, Lionel, Sherry, Mike, what's going on, Big Mike? Nene, appreciate all of y'all tuning in. This is Redskins Talk. We're breaking down the Week 3 victory over Green Bay. I gotta take my hat off to Jay for the first half play calling. He let the running game dictate the game. He was using his tight ends in the running game. Went deep, that pass to Paul Richardson with him, just walking into the end zone because the defender didn't touch him on the deep ball. The ball down the sideline, the running day was a 55-yard game. Jordan Reed in the first half, looking like the old Jordan Reed, getting loose in the secondary, making players miss, fighting for extra yards. It was, on offense, I was impressed. I was loving life. Everything was looking beautiful. The defense was playing lights out. Getting off the field on third down, it was a good thing to see until they went into the locker room and came out in the third quarter. Now, we're going to grade the first half. We already talked about Alex. I pretty much gave him a B+ in that first half. Broke the pocket when he needed to, like you say, 2 touchdowns. Had the interception, but it happens. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, that wasn't that great. I was going to say we're definitely going to talk about that play because I thought it was illegal contact on that play and it should have been called instead of an interception, but the ref saw it a different way and gave it an interception because the DB broke on the ball after he impeded Jordan's path beyond 5 yards, which I thought was the rule for illegal contact, but apparently I was wrong. But we're definitely going to speak on some of the penalties that were called in this game. Definitely that roughing the passing penalty in the third quarter that they're making a big deal about and overshadowing the Redskins win, kind of making that the focal point of maybe why Green Bay wasn't victorious. But we'll get into that in the second half. What did you give a grade for Alex in that first half, DujunneaB?
I thought it was at least B+, A-. I mean, he kept a lot of drives alive, kept things alive all game long, but he made some plays with his feet. He got and threw guys open like he always does, made very smart decisions with the football, and most importantly, all this notion about how he doesn't throw deep balls. I question your reporter card, your credentials should be revoked because I don't think you pay attention enough of Alex's career to say that, but he did that, and that's what enabled a lot of these other things to happen. That deep shot was a dagger, and once that happened, man, they got things rolling really well because they knew that they had to be careful because Washington could take the top off the defense quick and easy because they just don't have the guys to match up.
Yeah, they definitely didn't. When they had a chance to go deep, they did. And I guess still talking about Alex, but that touchdown pass to Jamison Crowder that he threw in there that, a lot of folks talking about he doesn't have an arm, he's a dink and dunk passer. He threw that in there between 2 defenders and he leaned it in there. On that one of the passes to Jordan Reed that went right behind Clay Matthews. He waited for him to get in that window between 3 defenders and fit it right in there. So a lot of folks were questioning Alex Smith's arm strength and saying he has a noodle arm and that he's only a dink and dunk passer. Don't fall for for what they tell you. The proof is in the pudding. The man was playing, got the ball downfield accurately. He was, getting the ball in tight windows. And on that Jamison Crowder touchdown, yeah, he threw that thing in there. So I was definitely impressed with Alex on that. I didn't know he had that in him. I didn't never doubt his arm strength. But, yeah, when I seen him throw that one to Crowder in there, I was like, okay. I like that. I like that. Not like Kurt, but different. I had to take that shot. I had to with the Minnesota getting beat like that yesterday. But getting to the running backs, did you want to speak on that debacle real quick, DujunneaB? Because I'm still scratching my head over that game.
No comment.
All right, we'll go ahead and get to the running backs there. Definitely, the running backs A. For one, Jay stuck with the run. Adrian Peterson, 19 carries, $120, 2 touchdowns. Running like, he was fresh out of college. That one, 20 plus yard gain that he bounced to the outside and hit the speed burst button that nobody knew he still had. And then ran over a couple of DBs in the meantime and still was standing about outside of bounds. Chris Thompson was kind of bottled up. I feel like they was focused on him to keep him out of the game so he wouldn't be a game changer that he is. And by taking him out of the game, they in essence let Adrian Peterson go off in the game, which if that has to happen for a victory, I'm not mad at it. So what did you grade the running backs in the first half?
AP did his job. It's going to be like that sometimes, and it's good to be that way. Jay doesn't need to show every little wrinkle that he's going to use with Chris Thompson, and sometimes he's not going to be his versatility is not going to be a part of the game plan. So that's cool. Overall, they played well. Line blocked well for him, and you're gonna see this more often than not from Adrian Peterson. If he's given the opportunity, he may not break them every single time, but it's going to be positive yards. It's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and then boom, he's going to hit those. So that's important, and it's important that they keep going in that direction as the season progresses, because that's how you're going to win ball games, by wearing out defenses.
Yeah, you got to. In the NFL, you got to. All right, offensive line. Some backup guys in there. They sustained a knock with Morgan Moses getting a concussion. Had Tyen Secchi come in. He had a couple of penalties in the second half. A lot of folks was on his back. I was explaining in the post game yesterday that he's a natural left tackle, going to right tackle. Probably didn't practice at right tackle. Going into a live game against Clay Matthews on his side, one of the best pass rushers in the league. You're going to have some hiccups because he was thinking and not playing, because everything on the right side is opposite from the left. So he had to actually thinking what he was doing instead of just reactive. So that's why he looked as bad as he did. But even with some of the replacements in there, they still had an effective running game. They kept Alex clean. He didn't get sacked. And pretty much, for the most part, controlled the line of scrimmage. What was your grade of the offensive line in the first half with the backups in there?
I'd give him a B+. I don't understand the notion that guys going to miss when sometimes, and in fact, he's one of the best. That's why, they keep him active 90% of the time. The guy makes plays. And the offensive line did an excellent job. They got beat on a stump or two, but that's expected. All offensive lines do. That defenses are creative, especially when you're dealing with guys like Clay Matthews and that bunch. But I thought they did a really good job of keeping Alex clean, making holes, and generating some really good blocks downfield to spring open the back. So, I thought they played very well.
They definitely got to give them kudos. They handled their business, handled the trenches, and Jay kept giving them the ball, so letting them move the chains. Mark, Peterson is a great runner. I like Thompson also, but like you said, they game plan. I believe Green Bay just game planned to not let him be the game changer, game breaker that he is. And every time he was on the field, they made sure they had him covered and accounted for. So he didn't get off, but like you said, AP did, and you got a dude like that running the ball, 2 touchdowns, $120 on 19 carries. You can't go wrong with that. Kerrigan, we'll definitely get into the defense about that comment, Mark. But we get back to the wide receivers and tight ends. That was one of my keys to victory for the game, that the wide receivers and tight ends had to win. They definitely did. Jordan Reed, first half, 4 catches, 65 yards. Richardson, he had the 46-yard touchdown. Crowder had the, 12-yard touchdown over the middle. So they did what they had to do. Jay, went down the field, players made plays, executed, and got points. Like they said, it made the defense have to respect it. And going forward, other teams are going to have to respect it also. We mentioned that after week 1 with the team having such an effective running game and the wide receivers not doing much, week 2, they were going to, challenge the wide receivers and make them make a play, which they didn't. This week, different result. What did you get a grade on the wide receivers in the first half, DujunneaB?
They played well. They took advantage of the opportunities, the tough weather situation out there with the rain. You saw Jordan Reed do something that you don't see a lot of guys do, playing with no glove, because he wanted to be able to feel the ball in his hand. Guys made plays in a tough weather situation. And this time, the way things were drawn up and how the defense was, how they were able to kind of dictate to the defense, as well as the different things that Green Bay presents as far as their weaknesses. They took advantage of them, and when they had the opportunities, most of the time they made plays. And I felt like Josh would have made some plays. He was completely interfered with at each and every time he tried to have an opportunity to catch the ball. So, they had to, Green Bay had to do some things. They created, the mismatches with the offense and how good the receivers are, and they had to do some things to force guys to not be able to make plays. And Josh was on the receiving side of a few of those. So, but yeah, I thought they played very well, and they also should be given a medal or a game ball for the way that they blocked in the running game as well.
Yeah, that one drive with Green Bay just kept on getting defensive penalties. I was just like, it was just ridiculous. Like they weren't even trying to defend. They was just like, all right, we're gonna just grab him. We just gonna get in his way. I don't even want to defend right now. But I'm still waiting on Josh to have that breakout game. I'm still waiting on it. I need to see it. We've heard how strong his hands are, how he go up to the highest point and get the ball, and such a game changer. I need to see it. Just like we were talking about Preston Smith last week about needing to see it. I need to see something from him. He's trying to get that 5th-year extension. He has to have a breakout game sooner or later. But I feel like we've covered the offense. Let's talk about the defense. Lights out in the first half, holding Green Bay, containing Aaron Rodgers, dictating the pace of the game. I know I'm a defensive guy. I love the front 7, played outstanding. Coverage was solid. A couple of busted plays, some missed tackles. I'm not going to give them an A for defense, but always things to work on. But as a whole, I felt like the defense played very well. The D-line, as a whole, 4 sacks, 2 by Allen, 1 by Payne, 1 by Ioannidis. That's outstanding for the D-line. Each started to get a sack. That's very rare. But to get that push and be able to contain Rodgers, even though he was hurt, he's not as mobile as he normally is. But, hey, he was on the field, so it's fair game. But I feel like the D-line played very well. They gave up, some running plays, got gashed on a couple of plays. But for the most part, they did their job. What did you give them a grade for in the first half, DujunneaB?
I said it for 3 weeks, and this being the 3rd week, they've been very consistent. And really all 3 weeks, I think they're been at least a B, maybe even a B minus. But they have been the reason and the catalyst for the Redskins offense to be able to have opportunities. And again, as we talked about, you saw it with Aaron Rodgers. That's the reason why you saw Arizona and the Indianapolis Colts going with the quick passing. Everybody barking and whining and pissing and moaning about the defensive line not being able to get pressure. Well, now you see a guy in Aaron Rodgers that likes to take 5-step drops, 6-step, 7-step drops. And now you can see, hey, if you're going to do that, coverage is pretty decent on the back end, so you're going to hold the ball a little bit, and those big men are going to get back there. So you're welcome on that analysis. You can can calm down now. They got some sacks for you. They showed that they can get pressure. And some teams are just gonna say, hey, I think our guys are good enough, my quarterback's good enough, and we're going to continue to drop back 5 and 6 steps. And if they choose to do that, that's fine. But this Redskins defense has proven that they can make you play. So I think as time goes on, you'll have these teams that will try it. More often than not, you're going to see teams probably go with the shorter step and try to throw that pass rush off a little bit. But another great day for Greg Minutsky and his group. Very sound, and they've been very consistent.
Yeah, that just the sack that Payne got, that was lovely. Ian-itis, with him just basically just walking the tackle back into Aaron Rodgers, that was ridiculous. You know, I'll be the first to say I didn't count him as a bust, but I didn't think that he was going to be able to make an impact on his team and actually be a starter. But he's definitely played well. I believe he has 3 sacks on the season already, so he's definitely making an impact on that defensive line. The linebackers, I wasn't happy with their play. But I wasn't disappointed in it either. As we mentioned, Green Bay does a lot of crossing routes. Aaron Rodgers has a lot of broken plays, so a lot of stuff across the middle that opened up because of him, you know, being able to extend the play. But the tackling and some of those plays definitely got to improve. You got to wrap up, stop trying to make the big hit, or, you know, at least one person hold him and the other person try to strip the ball out, which did happen later on. We'll break that down for the second half. But I feel like the linebackers, I give them a B- C+. What was your grade on the linebackers in the first half?
Yeah, probably about the same, B-. I understand what Greg looked like he was trying to do, and that was I don't know if any of you noticed, but if you look at it, and if you're able to go back and look at it, I encourage you. But it looks like the linebacker, especially with Matt Brown and Mason Foster, were shaded more to where your defensive end or where Ryan Kerrigan lines up. That created a pretty monstrous hole already right out of the gate in the A gap. Don't know what an A gap is. It's between the center and the guards on either side. And you saw Green Bay go to that. It was very clear that they were not willing to give up outside running, and they weren't willing to give up these little pick type rub plays that the Packers like to do that end up in that deeper zone of the field with the tight ends, with some of your slot wide receivers. So they were forcing them and saying, hey, we'll give you the run, but we're going to count on our guys making tackles before the first down, and we'll get you out of here like that. So I think that's where some of the misses and some of these broken runs where they get a little bit of a 10-yard run because you're already giving up a good 5 to 6 yards with that depth at times. So, overall, though, I thought they played pretty well considering the circumstances and the exoticness of the offense that Aaron Rodgers likes to run.
True. Let me get to some of the comments on the Facebook Live feed. Mark Moore saying Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed make a tough tight end set. That should get our receivers open more often. Well, DujunneaB and myself have been on the record over and over again talking about the 2 and 3 wide tight end set and how effective it is for this team. For some reason, Jay is reluctant to use it more often because when he does use it, as you said, it's effective. Jordan has improved his blocking. Vernon Davis still has good speed and great route running ability and has improved his blocking. Sprinkle, the best blocking tight end on the team, so I definitely agree with that. Said they wish the offense is more consistent in the second half. We're definitely going to get in there when we break down the second half offense and defense. Said we were fortunate with deep passes and had to keep the drives going, but we'll take it. That's definitely true. Eric, what's going on, my man? Said, did the D get tired at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth? Thought we started playing conservative during that time frame. Well, yeah, Green Bay had that 15-play drive in the third quarter we want to talk about in the second half. So, yeah, they did. I think they were a little winded, even though they do have a good rotation, but they did play a little conservative. And also, Green Bay changed up their game plan, which we're going to talk about in the second half and, how that affected the game going forward. Say side note, hey man, we ain't talking. I'm drinking on my Budweiser, man. Always King of beers, baby, King of beers. So what happened to the long touchdown they had was that DJ's fault. Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that because I want to ask DujunneaB about that myself because I'm not even sure what happened on that play. But just to finish up the first half grades on the secondary, I thought the secondary throughout the whole game, along with the first half, played lights out. I believe it was a B plus or A minus. I was very impressed with Fabian Moreau's play in the slot. Me and DujunneaB was talking a little bit offline about his play. There was some, drop balls that he might have been out of position on, but all in all, I felt like, him in that slot, especially covering Randall Cobb, who could be a nightmare for anybody, I felt like he definitely stepped up. Josh, I mentioned on my post game last night, I'm not sure what I feel about Josh. Let me get your opinion, DujunneaB, also. But I just feel like he says all the right things in the media and talks all the right talk when he's on camera. But when he's on the field, I just feel like he has a nonchalant behavior out there. Like when he gets beat, he's quick to, want to point the finger at somebody else and look around and be like, oh, you missed your coverage. But if you want to be known as one of the top flight corners, you got to start taking responsibility. I know he's doing a lot of trail technique and they've been running a lot of crossing routes, but that play that we're going to talk about in the second half, I'm not sure what happened. It was a blown coverage. He was a miscommunication. I'm not sure what. But with Josh, I'm not feeling his vibe on the field. What is your grade on the DBs for the first half, and what is your impressions of Josh Norman? Because I still love his play. I just his demeanor, I'm not feeling.
C plus, because I know they can be better. I take nothing away from Fabian. He's where he needs to be. I need him to be faster. He was in trail mode a lot, and there were a lot of balls that were dropped by Cobb. And we talked about it. You can look at it either way, and I'll say it right off the gate. These type of breaks don't usually happen for the Washington Redskins. That they got them in this game, and that's what football is all about. That's what sports are all about. Sometimes the ball bounces your way. And in this game, it did. I'm not saying that Fabian was out of position or not doing what you're supposed to be doing, but I need you to be a little closer and not so much in trail mode, because the good wide receivers are going to catch those and likely walk away, or you're going to miss that tackle because you're not 100% where you need to be. Now, whether that's because it was a sloppy field, could have been, because he's on the money. So I'm not bashing the guy. I just know that when you look at the tape, there's a touchdown that he could have given up, and there's a couple other plays that he could have given up as well. Just need to be a little bit faster in that day, in that instance. That could be due to the weather, but I give him a C plus because I know that unit can be better. And when you talk about Josh Norman, he's one of the hardest working guys in the building, and I believe he's very passionate on the football field. And I believe some of the plays that he's getting beat on, look, sometimes he does get beat. But he's also, I look at it as a quarterback standpoint, and from a race car driver standpoint too. The guy red light, and he can be mad about it, but if he loses, he's got until the next race to think about it. A quarterback, he makes an interception. He's got to put that out of his mind ASAP. Like, can't think about that anymore. Got to move on. And I think that's the same thing with Josh. When he gets beat, he doesn't have a reaction. He's not going to outwardly show that. And he's not going to let it linger either. You got me, okay, but next time, that's mine. And I think that's his mentality. I don't know if you want to talk about that broken coverage play or not, but I'll wait on that.
Yeah, I'm still scratching my head on that. When I looked at it several times, and I'm not going to blame Josh because it looked like DJ was keying in on Rodgers and missed the coverage, but it also looked like, I don't know. I'm gonna get your insight because I've watched the play several times, and I just want to chalk it up as a miscommunication. What was your impressions of that play, and what did you see?
I think it was a miscommunication, and DJ saw one thing, and because I'm gonna do it this way, okay? When you see the receiver get flush with Norman, he automatically goes to a trail position cover. Okay? He's in a trail position cover because if it's man-to-man or that is his guy, he does not want to be sidelined and allow that guy to come inside of him and also be a step behind that guy. So, as you can see, he's not only looking at the receiver, but he's looking at the help that he has in that zone. Well, all of a sudden, flying Ryan, DJ Squareger comes shooting down out of nowhere and he's in the run box, which immediately opens up the backside. That guy sees that, he puts on the jet, then Rodgers sees it, boom, it's gone. And Josh Norman's like, he has no chance. He's automatically in the trail position because the way he's inside to the sideline, the guy's inside of him, and he's expecting Swearinger to help. If you notice also at the end of the play, you notice Monte peeled off his guy to try to help that situation. He just was too far, and the Packers had a better angle than he did. So it was clear that there was supposed to be someone was supposed to be on that backside to kind of pitch that in, kind of a bracket coverage type deal. And that's the only thing I can see off of that because he's in a trail position. A cover corner doesn't want his receiver to get any inside leverage unless he has help. He's not going to be in that far of a trail position without inside help. And that's my key to say, hey, Norman knew what he was supposed to be doing. DJ saw something flash. Whether he thought he could break on that ball and get a pick, and he thought it was coming more shallow on that route, or what? He saw something, and he broke down, and then that opened up the top, and there went the ball. There goes the receiver. It's pretty much a waltzing in without doing the electric slide touchdown.
Yeah, DJ crashed down like a mug. He saw something. Those were very good keys. I'm glad you broke that down because I was trying to figure out. I didn't key on those things, but that's very, very astute breakdown on that one. So there you go, Mark. You wanted to know what it was? There you go. Don said, not to mention the fact that Green Bay has a crappy defense. Yeah, we touched on that a little while ago. They had some holes that got exposed. But before we go ahead and get into the breakdown, we got to talk about the other controversial play in the second half. The roughing the passer by Clay Matthews where he was flagged for, and I repeat, landing too hard on the quarterback after he sacked him. You can clearly see in the play, he pulled after he hit him, he pulled up and let his right arm go up like I'm not trying to hit him hard, and they still called the flag. Like DJ said, normally we don't get those breaks. As I tweeted out during the game, I didn't think it was roughing the passer, but I'll take it because we've got screwed by those calls many times before. But I feel like this is the new what is a catch rule. Now they got what is a catch figured out. Now I think this offseason they want to try to figure out what roughing the passer is now because they have to change that rule. It's physics. And even though he did pull up and he didn't hit him with the full brunt of force, and I'm going to go on record, the Deron Payne sack on Aaron Rodgers was a lot more forceful than the sack that he had on Alex Smith, and they didn't even look the card. And Deron Payne threw him to the ground. He still had him in his arms, but he threw him to the ground with force. If they wanted to call that on Clay, then how you're not going to call the same thing. But what is your take on that call? in that play, and do you agree that they definitely going to have to talk about that in the offseason?
I made it clear when this rule came out that this was going to be a problem right out the gate. And fortunately enough, with the helmet rule, they kind of laid off of that with the extremists throwing the flag on these helmet rules. But I knew this was going to be a problem. And I call that the off-season when this rule came up as being something that would be enforced. Clay Matthews, last week and this week, that was a perfectly legal tackle. The only thing I can see with the Kirk Cousins one is it's the arm on the leg as you're lifting the guy up. And I understand you're trying to take his legs from out under him, but it looks like you're picking him up and bringing him down. But he didn't land full body on him either. So I still think that is legal. Alex Smith was a tackle, the textbook tackle. He did not come down belly flop on him by any means. How are you going to tackle a guy? This is where I have thought. You've seen a couple of guys do it in a lot of games, especially week 1, week 2. You probably see it in week 3 as well. But guys will run at a full speed and kind of thrust and push the quarterback. Like you're almost giving somebody a chest bump, but you're actually trying to forcefully knock them down without tackling them. But I mean, you think you're going to do that to Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, big quarterbacks? Absolutely not. That's like bugs hitting the windshield with this guy.
Well, you saw that with Drew. You saw that with Drew Brees yesterday when he spun around and beat 2 defenders, and they thought they were going to push him down, and he spun into the end zone because they didn't want to hit him full force. So you see it right there with Drew Brees in the game yesterday.
Absolutely, and it's also Deron Payne's tackle. He's a big man. He was also tackling to the side and throwing him down in almost like in color mode, not tackling him and falling on him. I think it's an awful rule. It is a stupid call. I understand what they're trying to take out of the game, and what they're trying to take out of the game is the tackling of the quarterback and lifting him up off the ground and then driving him into the ground. You know what that looks like. Everyone knows what that looks like. They've seen it. Brett Favre has been hit like that. Kirk, when he was here, has been hit like that. Cam, a lot of people have been hit like this, and honestly, it's also that same play that Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone. Tony Romo has broke his collarbone on. But I will say it is not 100% in those instances on the defender, as you turn to the side and land to the side and have 200 pounds or plus, 250 plus, collapsing on your side, and your collarbone is going to break. That's just laws of physics and inertia. That's what's going to happen. You're going to break somewhere if you're falling that way. But they're trying to take those body slams out of it, and I get that. But that's a textbook tackle, and it should have never been thrown. To those who think that had something to do with them losing the game, it affect the game, it did not. It had no effect. That game was pretty much a rash in the first half with that 28-point butt whooping in the first half. So I know what people are trying to say, and it will have an effect. And it cost them last week. That's why they ended in the tie. But that had no effect on this game whatsoever. But it's a horrible call, and it shouldn't have been made. I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to see what the referee said on that, but his thing was he used the word judgment that he fell on. That he fell on the quarterback, on Alex Smith. That he brought his full body weight down on Alex Smith. That's what made him get that judgment, he said, in that instant, was the reason why he drew the flag and stands by that call. So, that's what happens when you have vague rules that are not 100%
refs just trying to do their job because, like they said during the broadcast, when the head of officiating called in, if they didn't call something, they'd get flagged for it if it looked like it should have been called. So they're erring on the side of caution with these new rules. So, like I said, hopefully they get it all ironed out, and hopefully it doesn't cost any teams any games going forward. And they, just like you said, with the helmet rule, they get together and figure it out. But getting a little late here. I know we was going to try to wrap up, get to a couple more comments, and then we're going to wrap up the second half and talk a little Jay Gruden before we get out of here. Mark says they hope they get hope with the early we get a stale, don't get early bye, we get stale to get the Saints. Well, early buys always, suck. They say your bye week comes at the right time no matter what. They got some injuries, some folks can get healthy. They got time to prepare for the Saints. The Saints have been a little up and down, also inconsistent. So you got to come out, execute, and play good ball. He said, "Nice breakdown, appreciate it, Mark." Yeah, no more pancaking the quarterback. Nah, that's out of the NFL right now. They don't do that no more. The refs have not been consistent on any calls. I agree with that. Saying flag football. I had another fan say something about they might as well put flags on them now, the way they call it any and everything. And Mark says that if they run, it's a free game. Yeah, if he's out of the pocket and running, it's a free game. You still can't take, the hard shots and, helmet hits. But, yeah, he's a free runner, but, they still going to look out for him. So if you hit him a little bit too hard, they still might throw something out there. So, they're going to protect the quarterback, especially guys like Aaron Rodgers, the highest paid quarterback in the league. So you definitely want to watch out for that. All right, let's get ready to get into the let's just go ahead and do an overall breakdown in the second half. We all saw what it was. We talked about it. The offense, just going to give an overall grade. I feel like Jay became predictable. He didn't do what was working in the first half. Granted, they only had 7 plays. Green Bay came out in the third quarter with the 15-play drive for 7 minutes. But it took the game to get close until Fabian Moreau got that fumble for him to go back to the 2 tight end, 3 tight end set and running the ball with Adrian Peterson and still throwing the ball if needed. So this is the only issue I have with Jay. He gets too fancy. He tries to outthink the opponent instead of sticking with what worked, just beating them on the field, running the ball down their throat, play action pass, go deep, get a pass interference, get a completion, move the chains, keep the time of possession. Ironically, this game was almost split 50-50 in time of possession. Green Bay had it for 30 minutes and like 15 seconds, and the Redskins had it for like 29 minutes. So it all played itself out, but until he did that last drive to get that field goal and go back to the 2 and 3 tight end set and running the ball, the offense was ineffective. Alex Smith had 0 yards passing in the third quarter. That's crazy. What was your overall grade for the offense in the second half, DujunneaB?
They executed what was put in front of them. If you're paying attention, it's the same game plan, the same type of plays he was running in the game. I don't credit it to too many adjustments. I credit it to a lot of passing, something that never really works too well, especially in a rainy situation. And then when you know what the weaknesses are, and you've been taking advantage of them all day, why get away from it? And again, we talked about this before. Sometimes these coaches, like Jay, like Kyle Shanahan, and even McVay, sometimes because they do have the ability to be innovative on offense, they have the tendency to try to do more than what is necessary. It's really unfortunate, really how the third quarter went down. There was no part of me that was overly concerned about the 15-play drive. It's Green Bay, it's Aaron Rodgers. They're an experienced ball club, a first-class organization. I wouldn't expect anything less from them. They did some things differently than they did in the first half involving their running back. And the way that the scheme and design was for Washington, they took advantage of some things given to them up front, and then guys made plays. So I never once thought in the fourth quarter that the game was even remotely But he understood. Hey, if I get a score here, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, I put the dagger in their heart and put them to sleep. And that's what they did. I don't like it. I have been a predicator, and we talked about it last week. You stick with what's working. If you want to do that for a series, when you come out in the third quarter, you script something else different that you see, and maybe your eyes up above, see something that you might be able to get, and you want to get some of your other playmakers involved, I get it. But to beat your head against the wall for 7 plays after they had took about 7 minutes off of that third quarter, and you had 2 possessions there, and you got yourself in, again, third and unmanageable situations, which caused you to have drives that basically stalled. So after that, I thought immediately in the fourth quarter they should have gone back to what they were doing in the first half, especially with the short time of possession in that third quarter. But if you're going to script something like that in the second half, I have no problem. It's the habitual continuing to beat our heads against the wall to think that is going to work. It's not working, but this is, and you have 28 points to show for it. Let's go and get another touchdown and dagger them earlier, and basically one extra touchdown earlier in that ball game would have demoralized the crap out of them, and that would have been all she wrote. But I never felt like Green Bay was ever having an opportunity to come back. And I know people say Aaron Rodgers, that's fine, but he never showed me jack to indicate that there was a minute possibility that they were going to be able to come back and make it a ball game, because they didn't do a very good job moving the football, and they were very inconsistent, and so was he. And with all the hits that he took with that knee the way it is, he was feeling it, man. And defense did what they needed to do, and they handedly kept them at bay. So hopefully he will learn from that, and I won't say that'll be the end of it, because he's going to do it. That's what those type of coaches do. But it's definitely great to see to have a game in hand, in full control in the first half, to where you can come out and do some of those things that you may be able to try to take advantage of some things that you see. And I'll say this last thing. The reason why those things aren't working is because you have to continue to take advantage of your deep shot. And they went totally away from and went to a short game and trying to beat them with creativity and crossing routes and all these little knickknacks and getting Crowder and their speedster guys involved. Their linebackers are still fast, and they flow downhill very well. They may not be great in coverage, but they flow downhill very well. And against teams that can do that, and I'll say that when they come and meet the Cowboys, that'll be an issue. Teams that can flow downhill. And you still got to take the top off the defense and keep those guys thinking that is a possibility for you to get beat deep. And that will open those things up, But you can't continue to beat your head against the wall when it's not working and totally go with a run style that doesn't fit your back and sacrifice the quality of your offense and give an opportunity to a quarterback, like especially in Aaron Rodgers. Just fortunately enough, defense has beat him into submission.
Very true, very true. Don has a very interesting comment. I use this as a segue into the J talk real quick before we finish breaking this game down. So how comes it seems that the teams that we play adjust for the better and we get worse? Jay, after the half especially. And that's where I really want to get into the conversation about Jay and his lack of in-game adjustments when the opposing defensive coordinator, stops him from doing what he's having success at in that game. It's like he's like a blank chalkboard. We saw last week against the Colts. Once the defense adjusted and took away the things that were working in the first half, Jay had nothing in the second half. This game, it seemed that way in the third quarter, but as we just talked about, he went back to what was working in the first half. In the fourth quarter, being able to get those 3 points to ice the game. Now, you're saying you've hoped that he's learned. I've been hoping for about 2.5 seasons that he learned this lesson, because you see it week in and week out. He'll have a, like we saw him from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. First week, run the ball almost 40 times, get 300 yards, almost 300 yards rushing. Second week, you run the ball 22 times, barely touch 100. Third week, you run the ball 30 times, get over 160 yards rushing. Now, the inconsistency of the game plans, which is counterproductive to what the team is good at and what the team needs to win, when is that going to get through his head that we need to run the ball 30 times plus and need to only throw the ball between 20 and maybe 30 at the most? These 45, pass attempt games is not going to what's going to win it in the NFL. What is it going to take? You saying that you think that is the light that clicked on. So we're going into week 5 versus the Saints, because we said we got week 4 bye. And for all those tuning in, next week we will have Diane Cheeseborough on talking Redskins during the bye week. So make sure you tune in for that, for another great Redskins insider that's at Redskins Park every day, shooting footage, talking to the players and the coaches. So any questions or comments, make sure you tune in next week, because Diane Cheeseborough will be on here talking everything Redskins, just like we're talking right now, except for to be 3 of us on talking and answering all your questions and insights and knowledge that you won't get anywhere else. But back to you, DujunneaB. Why do you honestly think that he's going to figure this out? Because if I come out in week 5 versus the Saints, and he come out, pass, what can we do? Hashtag Bill Callahan for OC. What can we do to get him to realize what this team's true capability does is, if he sticks with the proper game plan to put them in a successful position to win games?
Nothing. I'm not telling you that he's gonna change that. I'm gonna go to this route. I don't believe the Colts game was a lack of adjustment. I don't believe the second half was a lack of adjustment. I don't believe that they made some minor adjustments, but not enough to take away what the Redskins were doing in the first half. This guy sees something, whether it's him or his eyeballs in the sky, me in the booth, see something, and they are bent on trying to reinvent the wheel in the second half, and they want to try some other things that they see to take advantage and maybe get big plays. And this guy won't let it go. When it doesn't work, he doesn't let it go. And the Colts game, a lot of times I think that he in turn beats himself. They beat themselves in week 2 against the Colts. That game plan, continuing to beat your head against the wall, because that's what you drew up for the week, and you saw it work in practice, and you not take advantage of what the defense was giving you is, and this week in the second half, he obviously saw something that he wanted to change to. Fine, I'm okay with that, but you gotta abandon it when it doesn't work and go back to what you were doing. But he can be stubborn and continues to do it until, and with him having this lead, I think even encouraged him more to do that. I don't know. I can't tell you that he's going to change that. It's one of those things with guys who are really good at scheming up things. And I don't have a problem with it. But if you're going to do it, get it to your play. Get it to the Jordan Reed, especially in that game, the Jordan Reeds and the Vernon Davises who were opening up the offense for guys like Paul Richardson, Dobson to have target. Then you start working in Sprinkle and other those guys. It's not always about, everybody don't have to touch the ball. You know what I mean? Everybody doesn't have to touch the ball in the game. And sometimes I guess he feels like, let's see what this guy can do. Let's see what this guy can do because they're doing this. Fine. But for a series, it may be a second series, depending upon, time of possession, and what's going on with the opposing team. But good Lord, you can't beat your head against the wall and just be stubborn and continue to go and do things that just aren't working. And they were just fortunate that, They're been fortunate all season long with their defense because we know Colts game could have gotten a lot uglier than it did. In this game, they were up so far, it didn't really matter. But I understand everyone else's concern. It will matter if you're in a close game or you're in the Saints game, which is going to be a tough one. And you're doing that kind of crap when you're up, and all of a sudden Drew Brees does what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're talking about a loss because you decided to stick with something because you think you see something and you think it's not working, and you stick with it longer than you should. And then the momentum shifts. Now you're backpedaling, and the next thing you know, you're looking up at the scoreboard, and Drew Brees has smoked you for a one or two, and you're behind. And so you can only hope that that he doesn't stick with it as long. But I don't ever see that. Can't ever tell you that that's going to change at all, because those guys do that. Go watch the Rams when they get up and what McVay does. They all of a sudden have all these funny-looking, stalling drives that just are out of nowhere when the offense is working to perfection. So it's not just Jay. It's a lot of these guys who are really, really good offensive minds, and they really are. But sometimes they get in their own way.
I can definitely agree with that. I've definitely seen that with some other OCs. I've been, more critical of Jay because I'm tired of it with him. But I definitely see your point. Get a couple of more comments in before we wrap this segment up. What's going on, Steven? Appreciate you tuning in. Don says, be consistent, just like he asked about the refs. That's all you can ask. Got to hammer some things out. It's week 3, bye week coming up. So, all you can do is hope for things to get better. Mark, no problem, man. That's what we're here to talk Redskins and inform. Don said he always looks scared. Yeah, Jay does look like scared, a deer in the headlight sometime on the sidelines when things aren't going his way. I noticed that also. He said he has no confidence in himself, so he have to. Well, we mentioned his comment about regressing as a coach. I'm always going to bring that up because he said it. I've said it, but it came out of his mouth, so I agree. But all we can do is hope that he improves and develops and does what he has to do to make this team better and get these victories and hopefully make the playoffs this year. He said they hope the Steelers get beat tonight. Fitzpatrick, yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting game. That game is tipping off already. I need to turn the TV and get that on. I didn't even realize it was already past that time. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up the last bit of coverage of this game with the second half defense. We mentioned the Fabian Moreau fumble strip that enabled the Redskins to go get that game-clinching field goal. We mentioned the 4 sacks by the defensive line, Jonathan Allen with 2, Ioannidis and Payne with 1. Secondary played well enough to win. Green Bay did drop some passes. Randall Cobb did have an off game. They did have a wide open pass on the 3rd down that would have extended the drive that Kennard missed or whatever. So it was some opportunity, but the defense did what had to be done. They got the turnover needed, and they held one of the better offenses and top flight quarterbacks in the league to 17 points and around 280 yards of total offense. So in all, they're ranked number 1 defense coming in. I believe they'll be still ranked number 1 after this week, and all we can do is continue to watch this defense develop, grow, and let these Alabama boys go out there and do what they do. What was your grade of the defense in the second half, DujunneaB?
Like I said, B's. I mean, they played the way they played all 3 games this season, and they've been the catalyst and the reason why this team has had many opportunities to win ball games. They're giving the offense opportunities to win, and they're doing an excellent job. They're second in points allowed for the game, 14.7. They're second in passing offense. So they're doing a lot of things right, especially according to the scheme that Greg Minuski's putting up every week to try to minimize big plays. And you can't ask for anything more. And this is sort of
Very true, very true. You know, I'm a defensive guy, and I love every moment of it. We can touch on the special teams real quick. I actually had someone on the post game yesterday mention that the special teams hadn't really done anything to make an impact on the game. And my honest assessment was that I don't have a problem with that at this point. They aren't making any mistakes. They aren't causing the team any points. And right now, the defense is playing lights out. The offense is inconsistently playing well. So right now, you don't need that fast of a team to make any plays or make anything happen. Just keep doing what they're doing. As long as they're not being talked about, that means they're not making mistakes and not getting dumb penalties like we were used to a few years ago. So that unit, you know, Dustin Hopkins only missed one field goal. Tressway has been killing it in the punting game, doing what he needs to do. So I'm content with the special teams right now. What about you, DujunneaB?
Yeah, it's difficult to have a negative view on the special teams when they haven't been called upon. They just haven't. They've gone out and did the things when they have been called on. They did what they needed to do, what they're supposed to do. That's all you can ask for special teams. Don't screw up when we need you to punt and make a field goal. Easy stuff. And there really hasn't been any stress put on the special teams because they honestly haven't punted a whole lot in Baltimore in the first 3 games. So, yeah, I have no problem at all. Thought the special teams has played just how you want them. And they haven't had any pressure put on them either. So I'm perfect with that. You know, stay. You know, call when your number's called. Go and do what you're supposed to do, and the rest will take care of itself. So yeah, they're perfectly fine in my opinion.
Totally agree. Just got an update from Don. Said Tampa Bay just scored in the game. I haven't turned it on yet, but we're about to get ready to get out anyway. DujunneaB, let the folks know where they can find you at. You put that good article out today about Alex Smith and his impact on the game. Let the folks know where they can find you and what else they can look out for coming from you this week with the bye coming up. What type of analysis you're going to give on this team and other articles you're working on.
We got all of our articles, SportsJourney.com. Yeah, check out that article. You know, he was really a catalyst in keeping the offense alive in several critical drives that resulted in scores. Then we're going to talk about why it was a good win. Take a look at some factors on why it was a good win, what they took advantage of, and the numbers behind it, and how they improved as an offense, and what the defense did as well in that game. You can follow me on Twitter, not playing 21 on everything. And we're gonna kind of just take a look at the first 3 weeks with these next couple of articles that will come out in the bye, and see what has improved and how they're doing so far in all aspects compared to what we know happened last year. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the bye week. It's 2-1, and definitely could have been 1-2 for sure. And either way, I think a lot of us thought it would be 2-1 at least, and some of us didn't even see the Cardinals being a winnable game. So, yeah, good start to the season for them. It's been funny looking at times, but definitely a lot of things to be excited about as the season wears on.
Yeah, I got a quick two more questions before we get out of here. Good questions. That's why I'm gonna bring it up. We mentioned the Morgan Moses injury, the concussion. They're still in the concussion protocol. Probably won't know nothing going until Wednesday. And the next thing, he's okay. DujunneaB said his report says he's fine. He'll be good to go week 5. I figured that was. I said that in the post game. Yeah, and I forgot to touch on. Mark made a good point about Ryan Kerrigan. I touched on it in the post game about, you know, they saying that, you know, he has 1 tackle in 3 games, and where has he been? He hasn't made an impact. We mentioned the quick passing game. We mentioned, you know, teams know what to expect. Throw the ball, get it out quick. He's been getting chipped. They've been, you know, doing different things. And my main complaint is they never move him around.
He's fishy.
Say what?
That too, but he's been fishy.
Yeah. Oh man.
I.e. Brian Arakpo. Okay? Yeah. That's your answer. Go look at the tape.
Bro, it's been going on for seasons. They've been getting away with the fish hook and getting away with the holding in the pads on the inside when you can see them pulling the jersey and the referee standing right there and still doesn't call anything. But like I say, my only gripe is they don't move him around. I did like seeing Pernell McPhee out there on the right side, but when he had him on the right side, Kerrigan wasn't in the game. So I'm hoping going forward that more of their packages that Minuski's going to roll out. Now that McPhee is healthy, you got Preston on the other side. You know, they'll be able to put Kerrigan over the guard or the center sometimes because that's where your pass rushes, those elite pass rushes, make their money because their defensive coordinator moves them around, doesn't always have them in the same spot. They know where they are. They chip them with the running back, chip them with the tight end, you know, give them different looks to make them, you know, take that initial step and think about it. But until they start moving him around, I don't feel like he's going to be able to get those numbers again because everybody's so used to him being on that right side. What do you say to that, DujunneaB?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but they got so many other playmakers now. Sometimes by the time he gets there, Duran and Allen have already disrupted enough to where the quarterback is actually flushing up in the pocket and going away from Kerrigan and guys like Kerrigan and Smith and those guys. So, you know, I'd like to see him move them around a little bit. And I'd like to see him move all of those guys, outside linebackers, around because they're capable of doing that. They're all a threat. But you're going to key on one guy, and if teams think Ryan Kerrigan is the only guy that they need to worry about, then yes, I like to see him move them.
No doubt. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We went a little bit longer than we expected to. DujunneaB got some work to do on some articles. I got some work to do on some Sports on the Hill podcast business. But as always, it's been another great segment, Redskins Talk for Sports on the Hill podcast. We're having great engagement on our post game and on our in-show live feed. So be on the lookout. Like I said, I'll be expanding into the YouTube live platform and also be on Instagram live, trying to get all the bandwidth together, get everything set up. So we will be coming to you live, streaming on all platforms pretty soon. My man, DujunneaB, appreciate you taking the time out. You have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and end this Facebook live feed. All right, man, you have a good night. We're going to get ready to end up with our music outro. I'm going to let DujunneaB get out.